Humankind has long held a desire to explain the unexplained, or even the unexplainable. The powerlessness of not knowing shakes us to our very core. We will give meaning to things never meant to have meaning. And this is exactly what happened in the story of the Johtonian legendary birds. The towers were never temples. We built them as lures, though we tell ourselves they were for worship. Think of the bell tower, standing tall and silent against the wind. When the monks strike those massive bronze bells, the resonance vibrates at a pitch that matches the ancient, low-frequency thrum of a species that once filled the sky. To Ho-Oh, that sound is the only familiar thing left in a world that has grown cold and small. It descends because it has heard a ghost. It perches at the top of that spire, calling back into the wind, waiting for an answer from the horizon that will never come. We see a god blessing a sanctuary, but in reality, all that exists is a lonely creature nesting in the only place that it can hear the voice of its own kind. The brass tower, however, was built of a different metal, meant to catch the sea salt air and the deep, hollow echoes of the coast. When the wind whisked through its chambers, it created a rhythmic vibration, like the singing of the great leviathans of the upper atmosphere. Lugia chose that tower because it was the only structure on land that felt like home. It was an animal, trying to find a place to rest its heavy wings, lured in by the counterfeit song we didn't even know we were singing. We were arrogant to believe that we could domesticate a hurricane. The fire that leveled the brass tower was a territorial disaster. Imagine the great silver bird, lured in by the tower's song, only to find a cage of stone and the suffocating heat of human civilization. Its very presence is a tectonic event. Its aeroblast was but a desperate, violent discharge of air to regulate its own crushing internal pressure. When it lashed out, it was the frantic thrashing of a wild, high-altitude apex predator that realized the song it was following was a lie. The golden bird watched its only peer burn and realized that our sacred towers were nothing but traps. The fire never went out because the bird's chemistry is a volatile, phosphoric conflagration that we were never meant to touch. Our history was nothing more than dry kindling beneath the feet of a panicked beast. When those three nameless creatures perished in the tower, Ho-Oh's reaction was a frantic biological denial. This creature is not a god, but it is supernatural. It cannot comprehend the finality of death, because its own cells are locked in a cycle of eternal restoration. It didn't resurrect the beast to be guardians, but because it refuses to let anything end. It's a creature trapped in a state of pathological grief, using its power to stitch together a counterfeit pack from the ashes. It forced life back into the corpses to manufacture a family it had lost thousands of years ago, desperate to pretend that its lineage hasn't reached its final, lonely sunset. But take a look at what that mercy actually created. Raikou, Entei, and Suicune are not living beings. They're biological zombies. They run across the continent with a frantic, tireless energy because they're trying to outrun the decay that Ho-Oh's power is constantly fighting back. They don't sleep. They don't eat. They serve as sensory organs for a bird that is too afraid to look at the world itself. They are the limbs of Ho-Oh's denial, roaming the tall grass to find a home that doesn't exist. tethered to a master who refuses to let them rest in the dirt where they belong. Lugia's origin story is even more similar than you may think. It too is the last of its species. But its mind took a different path into the dark. Witnessing the destruction of its home and the twisted resurrection of the beasts broke something in its psychic core. It retreated to the lightless trenches of the Whirl Islands, not to guard the sea, but to succumb to a crushing biological depression. It uses the weight of the ocean to ground its bioelectrical waste and to muffle the sensory agony of the world above. It sits in the silt and the cold, an isolated titan that has simply given up on the sky. It has entered a state of torpor, a long-term biological shutdown, where it waits for a world that is quiet enough for it to breathe again. And the rainbow and silver wings that we hold so dear, they aren't charms of friendship, they're biological beacons. Shed feathers that still pulse with the unique electromagnetic signature of those two titans. When a human carries one, they aren't chosen. They're simply broadcasting a signal that mimics the proximity of a peer. We use these feathers to trick the birds into coming closer, manipulating their desperate need for companionship to draw them into a battle, to trap them in a ball of alloy and light. Ho-Oh circles the spires in a manic loop of false hope, while Lugia sinks into the abyss in a state of total withdrawal and depression. We keep ringing our bells, playing our cruel trick on the creatures that just want their species to exist again. We're mimics, playing a dead language on metal instruments, keeping these monsters trapped in a divinity they never wanted. We have draped our myths over them like a shroud, forcing them to be gods so that we don't have to feel like prey. The most unsettling truth is that we have become their parasites. We built our cities around their migratory paths. We base our religions on their accidents. We feed off of the blessings of their biological waste. We are the keepers of a high-altitude zoo, ringing our bells and praying that the last two survivors of a forgotten age never stop believing that we are the ones they're looking for. Because if the music ever stops, if the bells ever go silent, they might finally realize that they're alone. And a god that realizes it's just a lonely, grieving animal is a terror this world is not prepared to face. If this video changed the way you looked at the Johto legends and stories, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more Pokemon theories just like this. But for now, this has been Ev, bringing the blaze back, and always remember, keep on blazing.